Shout out to Steven and Ospers Gaming for supporting me in level 3 or higher on Patreon. Hey everyone! I'm Albert Boris. So, a couple of days ago, it was that time of the year again for a new Nintendo Direct to air, and well, it was definitely one of the greatest Directs ever in recent times. I didn't have much expectations going in, but man, I could not have been any more wrong. From the revival of the Mario and Luigi series, a new 2D Zelda title, and even more information on Metroid Prime 4, it was a surprise that none of us deserved, but needed. But by far, my most anticipated announcement was Super Mario Party Jamboree, the next installment in the Mario Party franchise. Terrible name aside, my goodness, is it possibly looking to be the most ambitious entry in the series yet, even more so than the previous game, Mario Party Superstars, and that was a gem in its own right. Finally, it seems that we're not only back to what made Mario Party so fun to begin with, but it also seems to have everything you could ask for, from a cool roster, massive board selection, and even plenty of other new modes. So today, I wanted to delve a bit deeper into it, and discuss my thoughts, predictions, and what I hope to see in the game, based on what we know from the trailers. Obviously, a lot of info is already confirmed, but there's still quite a few things we can speculate on. How will these boards work? Will we get more characters? And will we get retro minigames as well? I just can't wait to finally play this game, so in the meantime, while we're waiting, let's predict Super Mario Party Jamboree. Or, as they colloquially call it, Mario Party 13. Because, let's be fair, that's what it really is. In order to not make the video all over the place, I'll be dividing it into a few separate sections. First, I'll talk about the character roster, which is probably the easiest thing to start off with. Then I'll go over the board selection, before finally weaving into minigames and just about everything else. So, with all that being said, I say, let's get started. First up, we have the characters. And already I'm very impressed with what we've seen so far. Mario Party games typically don't tend to have large character selections, usually no more than 12 or 14, and they also tend to be almost exclusively made up of good guys, with only a few curveballs such as Troy Bones or Boo. Super Mario Party was a bit of an anomaly, having 20 characters evenly divided up between heroes and villains, before it took a massive step back again with Superstars. But would you look at that? Super Mario Party Jamboree is on the right track again, with already 22 playables confirmed. And once again, it seems like it will be divided up into two factions, as seen in this clip, with 12 on Mario's team and another 8 on Bowser's. To be honest, it's kind of funny that Wario and Waluigi are considered Mario's allies though. But man, I love these choices. Toad and Toadette are finally playable again after being unfairly relegated to just being hosts in the previous two installments. The fact that you couldn't place them in Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars was such a bizarre choice, considering how iconic they are to the Mario franchise. But at least they finally realized their mistake and put Yellow Toad as the host instead now. Otherwise, most of the roster seems to be reused from Super Mario Party, but including Spike and Birdo, who were initially just useless NPCs inside the game. Initially, I was kind of hesitant to see Bowser returning again, seeing as him being playable in Super Mario Party removed a lot of the stakes on the board play, when there wasn't a big bad guy to worry about. Sure, there was Kamek, but he just doesn't give off the same threatening aura. Actually, I think this game seems to be handling it very well. Because as it turns out, there's not only the playable Bowser, but there's also this huge evil clone with a purple filter around him, seen in some boards and minigames. So hopefully, that will ensure that we get the best of both worlds, even if it's gonna be kind of hilarious to see a Bowser to Bowser conversation. If these were the only characters we'd be getting, I wouldn't mind that. But I already know that there's a bit more in store for us. Right now, there seems to be 12 characters on Mario's team, and only 8 on Bowser's, and that would be kind of uneven. And actually, we saw 2 other playable characters as well in the trailer. Chargin' Chuck and even Ninja. Freaking Ninja. That's so insane and I love it. So make that 10 confirmed on Bowser's team. But yeah, it's safe to say that there's probably a few more characters they haven't revealed yet. So let's predict them. I believe there's going to be 14 different characters on each team, rounding up the total number to 28. That might seem like a lot, but with how ambitious this game is looking to be, I wouldn't worry too much. First, the 2 more characters on Mario's team I predict will be Diddy Kong and Pauline, respectively. Diddy Kong is an obvious choice. He was playable in Super Mario Party, so it wouldn't be a lot of effort to port him over to its sequel entry. The fact that he wasn't seen at all in the initial trailer was already kind of surprising, and having DK be playable without him would just be kind of weird in a roster as big as this. I think he's guaranteed. Pauline, I'm a bit more skeptical on, because even though she's become much more recurrent in Mario spin-off since her revival in Mario Odyssey, Mario Party is a series where she's still been strangely absent from, and that definitely has me kind of worried. On one hand, I'd say she has a higher chance now than for the previous 2 games, but it's still not a desirable trait. trend. Hopefully, it's just that ND Cube knows how much of a fan favorite she is, and that's why they're instead saving her as a surprise. That's my best guess. Lastly, for Bowser's team, we have 4 additional characters to predict, to balance out the 14 on Mario's team I believe in. And there is already another 2 characters that I'm almost entirely certain will make it in, Drybones and Hammerbro. Once again, they were playable in Super Mario Party, so why not just reuse their models and character animations? Drybones especially is a fan favorite, so him being snubbed would just be questionable on the developer's part. But what about the last 2 characters? I'm not gonna predict Pom Pom. She was a fun curveball to play as in Super Mario Party, but she's also just kind of too niche to return again so soon. Especially without Boom Boom, her more iconic partner. I could just be lazy and predict them both, but I have more faith in ND Cube than that. So instead, I'm gonna predict Blue.
Actually, Boom Boom might be confirmed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, check his clip. Doesn't that look like him?
Oh dear, you're right. Oh well, I guess I'll have to settle for Boom Boom and Pom Pom. Sorry guys. Initially I was gonna pick Blooper and Nabbit, but I suppose I'll have to make some compromises. But yeah, that's it for my predictions on Bowser's team. And so, that wraps up my speculated character selection for this game. Maybe these hopes are a bit too high. Yeah, they probably are. We've never had this many characters in a Mario Party game before, and I could see them maybe only giving us like 24 characters as well. But at the same time, if any Mario Party game were to have this roster, this would definitely be it. Still, it's always best to expect as little as possible, because that way you'll also inevitably get less disappointed. But yeah, that's about it for this segment. Now, let's move on to the boards. This is personally my most anticipated aspect of the game, for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, it's the meat and bone of the series for one. Without them, there is not much reason to play Mario Party to begin with, but also because they all look super unique from one another. Now sadly, there's also not quite as much to predict when it comes to this as with characters, since all 7 of them were revealed to different extents. 7 boards were confirmed, 2 of them being retro, and we got a good glimpse of most of them. But we can still speculate on how they'll work. They still left a lot in the air for how their gameplay will function, even the ones we've got substantial info on, so let's go over them all and see what they got. Starting with the 2 retro boards coming to the game, Mario's Rainbow Castle for Mario Party 1 and Western Land for Mario Party 2, and nothing for Mario Party 3. To be honest, these are probably the maps that I'm least excited to play, since I'm already familiar with them from previous games, and the new boards just look so much more crazy. The retro ones still look good, although to be fair, they should have maybe just been DLC for Superstars for consistency. Mario's Rainbow Castle in particular is probably going to be the simplest board of the bunch. Really, it's basically just a straight line with a few branching paths to take. It's strategic since you gotta take the longer or shorter path depending on if Toad or Bowser is waiting at the end, but besides the changed elevation, it's the same map as before. The only changes I do notice is this item shop at the start, as well as the strange absence of Koopa at the start. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, in Mario Party 1, there was a Koopa Troopa waiting at the start of each map and would award you 10 coins every time you passed him, and that stayed true for those boards in Mario Party Superstars as well. But this time, he's nowhere near to be seen. Maybe they just haven't programmed him in yet, but on the other hand, I wouldn't mind this loss too much, since everyone loops the board no matter what. And the economy might get a little broken if everyone's always gonna get 10 coins, so maybe this is for the better. The item shop though, much needed addition, and I shouldn't have to mention why. Now, Western Land though, on the other hand, actually got quite a few notable changes from the little we've seen so far. We didn't see too much, only 2 short panoramas of the right side of it, but there's actually a few new paths. First off, the skeleton key door at the top right corner now leads up instead of down. And this is way better than the original take. In Mario Party 2, the only reason you'd ever take this path was if there was a star there. Otherwise, there's no reason why anyone would want to miss out on both Boo and the Koopa Bank. This new take makes much more sense because if you do have the key now, you can instead have a go at both of them again, and that's a lot more strategic. Should I chase the star or should I go for Boo again? The choice is yours now, and I love this. The Boo also appears to be moved down a few spaces, at the weird expense of the Koopa Bank not being anywhere near seen. I hope it was just moved elsewhere. I'll be so sad if they removed the Koopa Banks, because they were such a fun little gimmick that balanced the economy. But whatever. The second split path seems to be located here on the bottom left corner and allows you to go back into town again. I am not sure how I feel about this one. This just seems kind of useless, especially when Boo would be located later up on the main path anyways. And I mean, he's still there, so whatever. Other than that, not much else to make note of so far, besides the stunning new visuals and elevation changes. And the Hootenanny is also still there. Anyways, now it's time for the new boards to be talked about, and these ones are definitely the ones I'm more excited to play, partly because they're brand new, so there's much less to expect. And there's also more possibilities to predict how they're gonna work, since we've never seen them before. Let's start with Mega Wiggler's Tree Party, which looks like it's gonna be the basic beginner board with a soothing forest theme. Layout-wise, it seems to largely be a circle, with additional detours up here and down here. The main attraction is obviously the giant wiggler in the middle though, which also has spaces on it. And the gist I'm getting is that whenever you land on these happening spaces with the bells, the wiggler will move around, allowing you to take shortcuts across the map when you're in a hurry. Likely at the cost of missing out on Budo on the right side, for example. Man, we're only on the first board and it's already looking to be incredibly unique with tons of strategizing. Actually, this might end up becoming one of my favorite boards, with the amount of choices you'll have. We'll have to wait to see more of it, but I'm eager with what we appear to have. There's even some piranha plants, which will likely steal around 7 coins when you land by them. But let's move on to the next board now. Rainbow Galleria. By far my most anticipated board. Then again, it's also the only one we know substantially enough about. This is a huge mall, made up of 3 different floors, with escalators acting as the way up between levels. The pink ones go up, while the blue ones go down, and there's also an elevator you can take immediately to the top floor, likely for a price. This is already an interesting raw layout. And there seems to be quite a lot of other events sprinkled throughout as well, from these 2 shops, a boo location, and even this nifty area where a people will cause a flash sale, prompting stars to only cost 10 coins for some turns. I'm not sure I like this gimmick too much, as it might make getting stars a bit too easy, but hopefully it's not going to be too frequent. And maybe there could also be a twist where sometimes it costs 30 coins instead. That would make it more of a wild card. However, what I'm most intrigued by are these stops. In some places, there are these weird mirrors scattered around, and it doesn't seem like regular event-based attractions, as these blue orbs floating in place always indicate an option of sorts. The best guess I have is that they might cause the escalators to reverse directions for 10 coins, effectively making it go the other way around. But that might be a bit too chaotic and luck-based, so instead I'm gonna guess that they'll remove a flash sale going on, if you have the money. And maybe these event spaces located at these shops could possibly force you to trade in your items for something else. That would be kind of fitting for a shop map. Overall though, those are my speculations for Rainbow Galleria. One of the most bizarre looking new boards though would have to be Roll'em Raceway. How should I describe it? Well, it looks like Mario Kart in Mario Party. I guess that's the simplest description. This map pits everyone in go-karts, with custom dice items that can make you go up to 40 spaces at a time. And presumably, whenever you loop around the track, you'll be able to buy a star for 20 coins. The only other board in the series which has a somewhat similar concept would be Rocket Road from Mario Party Island Tour. That map was basically about racing to the finish first, and with the help of booster items that you won in minigames, you could upgrade your dice block to go as far as 25 spaces at a time. But you could also roll a 0, effectively wasting your chance. It wasn't really that good of a map, because in the end, everything just boiled down to luck whether you made it or not. And seeing as this map has a very similar gameplay, I'm kind of worried that it's gonna end up as one of the more luck-based boards. But perhaps we're in luck and there's still some strategy, because in one of the clips where Toadie uses the dice item, he dashes past a boo location without given the option to interact with him, so perhaps in that case it will be a bit more balanced. Strangely, there also seems to be 2 split path options though, and I don't really know what to say about that, because shouldn't the faster option always be prioritized in a board like this? Unless perhaps Bowser will be waiting at the finish line if someone lands on his space. That could definitely be a fun twist. But probably, I think it's just gonna be a case of the shorter paths being less interesting and the longer paths having event spaces in a few shops. What these event spaces will do, however, I have no idea. Actually, I do now. They'll push you back a few spaces, and distance from the finish line is probably going to be important on this map. Other than that though, not much else to say, except I'm a little more cautious on this map's potential. Goomba Lagoon seems like it will be a bit of a safer success, opting for another regular star hunting board with both a beach, pirate, and volcano theme. That's quite an ambitious combination, but it seems to be pulling it off incredibly well. The main gimmick here is that the tide will sometimes rise, either through event spaces, or maybe naturally every 2 turns, forcing you to take other paths or loop back to where you started. So if someone happens to be on the beach while the tide is rising, they'll probably be sent back to the start in typical Mario Party fashion. Other than that though, not too much to say. There's obligatory shops, a boo location, probably a follow the chest type of event here, but most interesting is definitely the huge volcano at the top. In one of the clips, the volcano has a huge eruption, spewing out golden Goombas everywhere, and that's definitely kind of interesting. First, I thought it was maybe just an event that happened on the last 5 turns, causing the spaces to be littered with coins, but apparently the eruption seems to be an optional event as seen by the blue orb up here. Maybe instead, when you pay like 5 coins, the eruption will cause the tides to all sink, opening up the paths again. And sure, maybe this would be kind of anticlimactic, but if you have a better idea, let me know down below. All in all, it looks like a decent enough board though. Lastly, and possibly least as well, there's King Bowser's Keep, the likely final board of the game. I say at least because it's probably the map that's most shrouded in mystery. We barely know anything about it, so I don't really know what to say about it either. We'll probably learn more about it in the annual September Direct, but for now, it just looks like a regular star hunting board with branching paths. The most I have for a prediction is that if you land on an event space that surrounds this huge Bowser clone, then you lose all coins. What, were you expecting something positive? But yeah, sadly I don't have any other ideas. But I'll say this, I'm happy we at least have a final Bowser board this time. It felt so weird to go without one in Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars. And overall, I'm definitely satisfied with what we'll be getting. Mostly. The fact that Mario Party 3 yet again got the short end of the stick is kinda souring for me. It was already done dirty in Superstars where it only got 1 map while the other games got 2, and now it didn't get representation at all, even though it arguably had the most interesting and improvable board selection with the N64 games. A small part of me hopes that we'll be getting a secret 8th board from the game, preferably Spinny Desert or Waluigi Island, but I'm not gonna throw a fit if we don't. The hub world of this game actually has all 7 confirmed boards visible in different areas of it anyway, so let's not expect anything too unlikely. In the meantime though, let's move on to the last section of the video. The minigames, and also everything else. The minigames are definitely what we know the absolute least about when it comes to this game. Because guess what? This game will supposedly have over 110 of them, meaning it might actually be more. For reference, the games with the most minigames prior to this only had 100 of them, so this is a notable increase. And only 14 of them have been shown so far, so it's almost completely up in the air what we'll be getting. Or well, not entirely. When you think about it, it's not that bizarre of a quantity because this game also has way more types of minigames confirmed. Obviously, there's free-for-all, 2v2 and 1v3 minigames, but there's also a bunch of other types confirmed as well. For one, Riv minigames, co-op minigames, as well as team minigames all make a return from Super Mario Party, already increasing the count. But there's also the new Coupathlon mode, directly based off of Coinathlon in Mario Party Star Rush, where you have to finish a set of laps on a race to the finish map. And they also have their own minigames that rotate every 60 seconds, where you need to collect as many coins as possible. 1 coin means you advance 1 space each. Even boss minigames seems to be a thing now, and that has me especially excited since they were easily one of my favorite parts from Mario Party 9 and 10. There also seems to be a completely new kind of minigame, where 2 players have to carry another one to some island in the hub world. Like, what? I have absolutely zero idea what this could be for. It's a lot to take in, however, over 100 minigames still seems a bit much to fill out, even with what's confirmed. There's a lot of discussion surrounding whether or not we'll also be getting retro minigames, seeing as we already got 2 old boards, and while none have been confirmed, I still think it's somewhat fair to assume that a small portion of the minigames will be from past games. Especially because on the cover art, there's actually a small area where Daisy is chasing Waluigi with a hammer while he's holding coins, which is very reminiscent to the Bash and Cash minigame from Mario Party 1, so maybe it's a sign. I'd say around 30 minigames could be retro. That would be enough, but not enough to take away spotlight from the new minigames. Although, just like with Superstars, they'd probably be heavily skewed towards N64 minigames, since that's where we also have the boards from. These are the minigames in particular I'd predict. No, I'm not gonna go through why for all of them. That would take way too long. But yeah, long story short, there's a lot to hope for minigames. And as it turns out, Joy-Cons won't be obligatory. Hallelujah! Dude, I was so worried when I first saw the trailer and saw motion control minigames. Super Mario Party not allowing Pro controllers was already a huge turnoff for me, especially now that my Joy-Cons keep drifting all the time, but as it turns out, you'll be able to turn off minigames when required this time, and that's just perfect. But yeah, overall, I think that's all I wanted to say for this video. Obviously, there's even more to this game, but I don't want this video to get too long, so I think this is an appropriate time to wrap it all up. There's still so many other things I want to see return as well. Story mode would be absolutely dope to see make a grand return, especially now that there's a real final board. There's so many cool items I'd love to see as well. Most likely, we'll just be getting the returning ones from Mario Party Superstars, and maybe a few new ones like the Reverse Mushroom. Now that would be a dream made in heaven. But yeah, overall, those are all of my thoughts and predictions on the upcoming Super Mario Party Jamboree game for now. But what are your predictions and thoughts? Did you agree with me or not? Let me know down below how hyped you are for the game. And in the meantime, make sure to drop a like, share and subscribe to this, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. Join my Discord server, Green Pipe City, and follow me on Twitter and Patreon for more updates. Links are in the description. With all that being said, I'm signing off until next time.